Also, other issues now. The travel ban on one hand and dollar shortage on another. Aviation industry seems to be heading to an unpleasant festive season. To give us insight into the impact of these and more, we have the president of the National Association of Nigeria Travel Agencies, NANTA. We have Susan Akpore joining us in the studio. Good to speak with you, Ms. Akpore. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Yeah. So this seems like this Christmas is looking bleak for the industry again. You know, just when we're hoping that it will be an opportunity to recoup from the happenings of last year. But let's start from the issue of the repatriation of fund, which is the challenge before we had the Omicron and the bans and all that. How bad is the situation?
Oh, it's actually really bad. It's bad because the airline started cutting off, us issuing ticket that does not originate from Nigeria. That's their own way of reducing the amount of their funds that it's in Nigeria. It was really, really bad. As bad as the extent in which we're hoping at the time that the repatriation of funds was like 50%. Actually, the airlines were not even asking for 100% of the funds be repatriated. They said they would have been comfortable with between 50 and 70%. Even if it's just 50%, they will be fine. But they were doing like 20%, as low as 20%. So it actually started getting really bad. It started with like 30, 40%, and it really dropped to like 10, 15% of their funds be repatriated. Hence the reason why quite a number of them took that decision to stop sales of tickets that does not originate from Nigeria.
Okay, so help us to understand. You said they would have been happy if it was like 50%. So what happens to the other 50%? How do they get their funds?
Oh, they will eventually get everything. Okay. What I'm saying is that if at a time, you know, their funds is being repatriated per every bidding period. So what they're saying is that if any time they go to bid, as in whatever amount they are bidding for, if they get 50% of that, between 50 and 70% of that, that's going to be okay. They'll be fine with that. Doesn't mean the others will not eventually be paid. Mm-hmm. It will, but the payments, if it comes at each time between 50 and 70%, they would have been fine.
Okay, so it happens that these funds are paid in bulk. So if as an individual, I want to buy a ticket from, you know, an airline outside Nigeria, and I pay, of course, in Naira, right? So it is you as a travel agency's responsibility to get it across to the airline in dollars. You know, I want you to paint the picture for us.
Okay, all right. The legal tender for expedition in Nigeria is Naira. We're not allowed to do business not in Naira. So hence the reason why the airline can make us pay dollars. But we all know the tickets are domiciled in dollars, but all over the world. Then, of course, depending on your country, it's now being converted at the point of sale to Naira. That's why if you see your tickets, you will see a USD and you see an NGN. So we pay in Naira, actually. Just like a client will come to me and pay in Naira, we pay the airlines in Naira. So now it's the banks of the airline and CBN, where they go to bid on their behalf. At each time they have to bid, that's when they go to bid for dollars to get their money converted to dollars and sent to their home country. So that's how it works. We are not the one that do the conversion.
Okay, it's between when they go to the banks and the CBN.
And the CBN,
but
yes.
The CBN has continuously assured us that once you go through the right channel, you can get your dollar, you can get, you know, official and legal requests granted.
Oh, yes, that's what CBN always says, but in reality, it's not the case. I'll give a classical example. Even we as an association in NANTA, we also pay for our international accreditation, yearly accreditation, and we pay in dollars. So in order to make it quite easy for our members, last year when I became president, we always we collect the funds in Naira from our members, and we go through the process the airline goes through. We go to bid for dollars so that we eventually transfer to IATA and all that. Last year, it took us 6 months to be able to eventually pay up just about $45,000. So because our banks, the money is with the bank, and they go to bid, this bidding happens to 2 weeks. If we as an association could experience that with just about $45,000, $50,000 thereabout, that we were trying to repatriate to IATA, and it took us 6 months to be able to eventually send the funds. So imagine what the airlines are going to when their own is running into millions. So the bidding comes every 2 weeks. Your bank goes to bid on your behalf because you have a legal right to do that. And when it comes, what eventually comes out as what you have won for that bidding day, it's always nothing.
It's below what you asked
below.
for.
Like the very first bid we had when we had it last year, we bid it for $45,000, $50,000, and we were approved just $2,000. And I'm like, when my bank has gave me the report, I'm like, what am I going to do with this? So it just kept happening like that. And no, this bid happens just 2 weeks. So it kept lingering, but we had to just reach out to IATA. Of course, they were very understanding because they know what is going on. So it took us 6 months to be able to finish repatriating $45,000. So you can imagine dollars running in millions. So that's how it works. And that's what the airlines are going through right now. Actually, because of our experience last year, we didn't do a corporate bulk this year because my bankers were like, don't even try it because the airlines are having serious issues. So who is going to listen to us that we're just paying for dues? So we stayed away from that this year because of that. So that's how it usually happens.
From your perspective, there's an obvious shortage of foreign currency.
Because CBN keeps saying the money is there, go to your bank, the bank will do the right thing, they will bid and all that. But the banks go to bid and the report that comes out is usually not favorable. It's actually ridiculous a lot of times. Like one of the airlines that had actually promised us that they were not going to take any action, just overnight, it was like, bam. We were wondering what's going on. And when I was speaking with the airline, and they were equally shocked, and they narrated what happened. For instance, they went to bid for, hypothetically, $500,000, and they got us about $50,000.
10%.
Exactly. So that's led to that drastic decision. So I feel for the airlines because it's part of the BASA agreement. They must be able to repatriate their funds. They're foreign airlines. They're not Nigerian airlines. So their funds are not meant to be here. That's part of the agreement. And these funds are used to service the aircraft, even for the Nigerian staffs that they have working in Nigeria. Their money is being paid from the home country, the head office. So there's a lot going on, and that's where we are. So the report was, when they reported to CBN, CBN was like, the funds are there. And they get to the banks, the bank says, we don't get the funds. So something is wrong somewhere.
Exactly, where are we missing it? Is it that the funds are there and the banks are hoarding it? Or giving it to illegal requests? Because honestly, we heard there are some speculative demands.
Exactly. And you and I know this dollars is everywhere in the black market, the primary market. I mean, any amount you want, you go to the primary market, you will get any amount you want. So it's actually very laughable when in the black market, so to say, you get any amount you want. I mean, just a call and they bring it to you. And in the official channel, at a cost though, which is like over 100 naira different from the official rate at the bank. And you know, the airlines can't go with that rate because it's going to be a massive loss. Right now, even at the airline rate has been fluctuating. Seriously. I mean, it was stable for like 411 for a while, and it just jacked up to like 450 something, 460. Today is 459. So it's very unstable, and information coming to me sometimes some of these airlines they are being forced to go to the black market to buy their funds. So you can imagine me selling a ticket at 450 and they are going to go and buy at 500 and something because of the huge amount of their funds, and they really need these funds.
They need the funds.
So some of them are forced to go and buy some certain amount.
So at this moment now, what's happening? Is it that people can no longer get tickets that are not generated from Nigeria? What's the situation now?
Okay, the situations, there's what they call SOTI and CITI, as in tickets bought here, but the trip is originating outside Nigeria. So meaning, for instance, London, Lagos, London, and I issue the ticket from Nigeria here. So those are the tickets that are being affected. They are saying, you know what, I'll rather let these tickets, because they cannot access to
Pay
collect
in.
dollars.
Yeah.
It's not allowed by the law, by the Nigerian law. So what they are now saying, such tickets, we want it to be issued in London. We don't want it to be issued there, because if it's issued in London, the money is
Yeah.
there. They don't have any issues of repatriation. And maybe some other countries, is not all over the world that they have this issue. I think it's Nigeria and a few countries. But other countries, like in the US, you can issue London, Abuja, London in the US. They don't have the issue of repatriating. And more so, US already use dollars anyway.
Yes.
So it's quite easy. There's no
It's
converting and
available.
everything. So those are the tickets that have been affected.
So how
And
is
not
that
all
affecting
airlines.
you and me? I want to travel now. How does it affect me?
Okay, if you want to travel now, you have somebody that is coming in from London to Nigeria, you might not be able to pay in Naira. That's what is affected, because for me to be able to do that ticket for you, I'll have to do it from
Like
outside
you're
the country.
outside the country.
Yes.
And then I have to pay with the
Exactly,
currency
with
of
the
that
currency
country.
of that country.
So I think it put the burden on the consumer to now get the foreign
to get
currency.
the foreign currency. Puts the body, and now you can't go to the bank to get the foreign at that rate to buy that
So
ticket.
here
you
we
have
go to black markets.
Exactly.
So
and
more
you're buying it
markets.
for almost 600 naira.
More
So,
demands for black market.
more
Well, there's also, of course, the travel ban, which the federal government is trying to fight against. That's also not spoiling business for you guys.
Honestly, the Yuletide, this holiday season is just like you said, it's been messed up. We're very hopeful. The business has actually picked up. I mean, picked up to 60% of what we did last year. I mean, 2019, not last year.
Not last year.
Because
Last year was not. Last year was not yet to be
So
referred.
at this time, the last quarter of this year, we're already at 60% of what we did in 2019. It was really looking good. Everybody was already planning for a big holiday seasons and everything, and there go bam, and it's really affecting everything, sincerely. One of my clients on the flight this morning took a picture and sent to me, and it was like, Susan, the flights are empty. Of course it's going to be empty, because people had to cancel their flights. So much uncertainty, have to put their plans on hold, and so much burden on us. Now we travel agency can't even have a peaceful Christmas, because there's somebody somewhere that needs either a refund, that needs to know what's going to happen to my ticket. Am I going to use it? Am I not going to? So we are all on our toes right now. All travel agencies, we're on our toes, waiting. Oh, I hope my client is not going to call me. We're just there standing. Even we have also canceled our plans, even if we were not traveling outside the country, because you can't be here and have, a peaceful Christmas, because it's chaotic everywhere. Imagine millions of tickets being issued, having to reschedule. Some even when you tell them transit is not affected, nobody wants to listen, because nobody wants to be stranded at the airport. Like, for instance, you can still go to the US. The problem is you going to London, going to the UK. Now, transit is not
That's
affected.
for now. We're hoping the US doesn't join the bandwagon.
For now. So transit is not included, and it's really tough convincing the client that, you know what, you can still go to US using the airlines, because transit, and nobody wants to take the chance. Nobody wants to believe you. So everybody just wants to cancel, and they want refund. And we all know refund at this time is almost impossible. It will eventually happen, but not at this time. So you can imagine how chaotic it is, and it's not good for us.
Not good for the industry, because I know last year we had a lot of conversations about the loss in the aviation sector because of COVID, and now we have Omicron, and this is also, apart from the inconvenience of poking your nose at every point in time. You need to have your PCR. Even when you're double vaccinated, you go into isolation, quarantine, and things like that. Really not a good time for the industry at all.
Not at all.
Well, we do hope for a better.
Honestly,
We do hope some miracle happens.
I
You can
really
still have a
strongly
good
it will.
Christmas.
But
Like,
they are looking at 20th, just 3 weeks, so we are hopeful. And the Nigerian government have been in discussions with them.
yes, with
The
the
private
UK
sector
and
have
so.
been putting in a lot of pressure, trust me, a lot of pressure on the UK government. So I'm sure very soon they
Yeah.
will do the right thing, because that decision was not really,
Harsh.
was harsh. It was uncalled for, actually.
All right, Susan, thank you so much for sharing this morning with us and enjoy
Thank
the
you for
rest of your
having me.
day.
Thank you so
Susan
much.
Akporiaye is the president of the National Association of Nigeria Travel Agencies. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll head to Afex Commodity Space. To stay with us is Business Morning on Channels Television.